Hey guys, welcome back. So in this tutorial, we're going to learn about if statements. What if statements allow you to do is they allow you to make decisions in your code so that if you wanted to run a certain piece of code but not another under certain conditions, if statements will allow you to do that. So the format of an if statement is if, and then in these brackets you would put your condition, and in these curly braces you would put what you want to the code you want to execute if that condition is true. And then there's also else if statements, which will be executed if your first statement is false. And then there are else statements, which are executed if all of your other if statements are false. So I'll show you an example. So suppose if you wanted to see if a person is old enough to drive, and I had a variable int age equals 15. Then I will create an if statement that if age is greater than or equal to 16, then you can print then system.out println you are old enough to drive. And so this will be executed only when age is greater than 16, and under all other conditions, you're not old enough to drive. So this will print out you are not old enough to drive since 15 is less than 16. So we'll see right now. So you might also be wondering, what if I wanted to check two conditions? Like suppose if you wanted to drive, you needed to be 16 and up and have green hair. So suppose if we wanted to check that, like, okay, is equal to true, and we wanted to check, okay, if the person has green hair and is 16, then they can drive. Then we would put these two ampersand signs to check, okay, you need to be 16 and have green hair. Another thing to keep note of, guys, is in if statements you need to have a double equals whenever you want to write an equal sign. So this will now check if age is greater than 16 and you have green hair, then it will print this out. So again, it'll print you are not old enough to drive. But if we change this to 17, then it'll print you are old enough to drive, since both the conditions are met. And another thing we can check is another thing that happens in if statements are ors. So suppose if you want to check if you had only one of the following things, like suppose if either you're 16 or if you had green hair, then you could drive. The way you would do that is you would put these two straight lines to check, okay, if your age is greater than 16 or if you had green hair. So if one of these are true, then it'll print you're old enough to drive. So for example, since age is 17, we can put, but if you didn't have green hair, then it'll print you're old enough to drive, since only one of the conditions need to be met. But if both aren't met, then it'll come out as false. So now there are also else if statements. So suppose if I wanted to just check another condition like, okay, Boolean is a guy, suppose if I want to check is boy is equal to true, and just for example, suppose for some reason I just wanted to check that, else if is boy equals true, then we can print something like you're a boy. Println you are a boy. A boy. So since the first statement again is false, it'll print out you are a boy. So that's how else if statements work. Okay, so that's really it for if statements. So I'm gonna create a challenge for you. I want you to make your own if statement that'll check if a person is able to drink. Or you could create any if statement you want just to practice.